we can keep talking about it. We just can't make any
Action.
voting decisions or actions. And that's all. And
Is
Cindy's
this all-
gonna be here.
Oh. Well, I know Jeff's ill.
Yeah. We
Oh,
can
easy,
keep
I'm sorry to
talking
hear
about it.
that.
We just can't make any voting decisions or actions.
And Jim, I think is,
Jim is still out of town.
Now we are.
okay,
Now we are.
so that
There we
means
go.
we have Cynthia,
Yeah, she's
and
coming.
that'd be 4, so that would be a quorum.
That's-
Jim is technically not, Jeff is not considered part of the quorum.
No,
He can participate remotely, but he can't be considered part of the quorum.
Right,
yeah,
but Cynthia, if she shows up, we can
Oh,
score.
right, because Casey part of it, yeah.
yeah. She's
Taking
coming.
along the,
Yeah.
like Fletcher's not,
Right,
but
right,
Casey is, so yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fletcher doesn't count on many levels. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just being ridiculous.
I told you we're live.
It's a cheap shot,
It
you
is
know.
a cheap shot.
And that's another thing I gotta, since we're being recorded here, but I have to be mindful of that.
Absolutely.
Like I usually am not, and I end up raising my voice. Well, I'm hard of hearing anyway, so I have sort of.
Well, yeah, there you
No,
go.
Fletcher knows, I think.
No,
does a
and
good
you
job.
know, like Jay, it's always something, this is a permanent record. Someone 5 years from now can want to have a look.
Test,
at it.
test.
So, always something to consider. You know what I mean?
Oh, there it is. There she is. Hey. I would love it.
Oh, by the way, Debbie,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you for that referral. Miss Jamie Savannah got back to me. And I do believe they're gonna have exactly what we're looking for.
Oh, good, 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 good.
Mhm.
So thank you for that.
Oh, there. Oh, thank you. More reading material. That's all right. I read that 60-page report on the, Greg, Greg, you read it too?
I've been
Yeah.
through most of it, yes.
Yep, we read it. I read
No,
that
wait a minute, I'm
report.
sorry. I didn't tell you, but I can't read.
Which 60-page report?
Oh, there's a report done by the USGS and in conjunction with the DEQ on the status of the aquifer underlying the shore. They're
Yeah.
talking about the larger.
Both sides
thing,
of the
but-
bed.
But that's focusing on the York County Stover aquifer. And, but it's bigger than larger, but, so it's important that,
Actually,
And
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
put stuff
be-
on us, on the eastern shore.
yeah.
Oh, yes, let's go ahead and maybe I'll even use my gavel tonight. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm calling the main meeting of the Hancock Planning Commission to order. I got my. There I am. I'm calling the May meeting of the Onancock Planning Commission to order. We'll have a roll call. We have some people who are absent, but we have enough people for a quorum.
Okay.
Jeff, can you
Commissioner.
hear? You can hear?
I can hear you, yes. Can you hear me?
Okay,
Yeah,
Wow, yeah.
I'll turn you down a little bit. Commissioner
Oh.
Adler,
Present.
Commissioner Holdren,
present.
Commissioner McGowan, Commissioner Temple,
Present.
Commissioner Weitzel,
Present.
and Chairperson Greer.
Present.
Okay, you have a quorum.
Okay, we haven't got the minutes on this. That's all right. We'll get double minutes next month. That's okay. Believe me, we understand the situation. So, so we will just approve double minutes next month.
That's okay.
Piece of cake. That's right. Okay. So, and also we don't have public comment on this, but we will have public comment. So don't worry about that. All right. So the first order of business is a consideration of a special use permit sent to us by Jeff Barrett, who actually lives next door, next house over, and with the other little building in the front. And he has requested that he be allowed to use 2 bedrooms, I believe it is, in his house as for what he calls an occasional guest couple. So, the way that he described it, it's not like it's folks that are friends of his that are coming in. He is actually looking to be, have a permit to do, basically a short-term stay, like an Airbnb or something like that.
And he said in his application, he's going to advertise through Airbnb. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
So that would
Yes.
meet the definition of a short-term rental.
Yeah, that meets the definition of short-term rental.
Yes.
So this is something that will have to go to the zoning administrator. And we'll also have to have a public hearing, I believe. But we can discuss it now, and the main point of our discussion at this point is whether we have any questions or things that he needs to prepare for before we, answers that he needs to come up with before we pass it on.
I don't have any specific questions, but we need to know if it meets the requirements of the ordinance regarding
Right.
spacing from other short-term rentals and that sort of thing. And without that information, we can't really consider.
Well, I got that information. So it looks like, because it has to be 200 feet, correct?
200
Mhm.
feet measured from the water meter plus one tax parcel.
Okay,
And we have
so,
here his map, the map. of
so
the
right
lot.
now, the only Airbnbs we have on Market Street are 102 Market Street and 105 Market Street and 145 Market Street and 78 Market Street.
So there are none on North Street.
No.
No.
Oh, I'm telling you, Market. I was
Yeah.
thinking he was on Market North, nothing on North, sorry.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah.
I'd still feel like it would be good for us to get the zoning administrator's recommendation.
I agree. I mean, we're not supposed to make the decision on it. It has to
Yeah.
come from the zoning administrator.
And kind of coming out of nowhere, since it's in the house, and I assume he'll be there at the same time. Does the town, if we approve, do we run into any legal liability should something untoward happen? Since he's resident in the house at the time.
Well, I don't think so, because we
No.
have at least one other incident of a similar situation that we've approved in the past.
Okay,
So I think it meets our ordinance requirements.
all I'm trying to
Yeah.
do is to protect the towns if something happens
Yeah.
to
The-
a guest or
The
whatever.
owner of the property has to annually provide the town with proof of insurance for property damage and liability. And no less than 1 million per occurrence and 2 million in aggregate.
Yeah,
So he has to have that, and then he has to comply with all the statutes that are associated in the special use permit in the ordinance. So he will have to have a business license. He's going to have a special use permit from the town. It has to be renewed every 3 years. And he has to stay with the residents. He has to register with the short-term rental registry for the town. And he cannot pass it on if he sold the house. So,
but our position is we would prefer to have a recommendation from them.
yeah, so,
Yes. correct.
yes,
Yeah, and I'm perfectly happy to make a motion that we table this for next month until such time as we have the recommendation from the zoning administrator.
okay.
Do I have a second?
So we
Second.
go, yes,
Yeah.
second.
No vote?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Poor Jeff, sounds terrible.
It looks like he's got enough property, so, and he's got the parking, stuff like that, but, so who's our zoning administrator now? Is it Bill?
Yes.
Okay. So Bill needs to, do we tell him, or does Bill need to tell him what he has to do to get his ducks in a row? I mean, he should see it, he should be referred to the ordinance, I guess.
Bill will review the application to
Yes.
see if he has everything he needs, and he'll
Okay.
contact him if he doesn't.
Okay.
Yes.
I think at this point, he does have everything he needs. It would have to go to public hearing, and I believe we have to notify the adjacent neighbors of the public hearing for town council
Yeah.
to approve it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
All
He's
right.
got the parking and I think he's got the property issue.
Yeah. He has that part worked out. And it's more a question of how his next door neighbors feel about it. Okay. All right. So let me go back to the agenda. So this is, the next part's a little more, complex, and this is the consideration of the water extension application for Duncan Manor. And I know that that also is, Jay, what you want to talk about, so I'll make sure that you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get you on this. So do you want to do Jay's public?
Sure.
Why don't you do your public comment? I think it's a good idea. Let's get this information out there.
I'm Jay Miller, 79 Market Street. I went to the Accomack County Planning Commission workshop on the 28th. And there was a presentation done with two projects. There was one up in Greenbackville.
Yeah,
That was, it's called Mariner Farm Village or something like that. And then the second one was Duncan Manor, Chris Carbo's project. Now, there was a couple of curious things right off the bat when I went there. First thing I saw was that it was what I believe is a township, is a county employee who did the presentations from it. Maybe I'm behind the times or whatever, but there was a guy named Leander Pambit, and his title is a deputy county administrator, which I assume is an employee. I don't know
yeah.
how else to. Right.
He's head of planning for the county.
So instead of having the developers plead their case and give the actual presentation, he did them both. Before the meeting was started, then I talked to him at some length then about the water business. And I also asked them many other questions about the actual presentation. It was a packet. They have this REZ designation on it, and it's all of their printout, 50-something pages describing their project. So I talked to him at great length for that. And I told him, which before I realized he was giving the presentation. So here's how they've put this. Now I printed out a couple of pieces of his packet, Carbo's packet, and I was curious because it's cut and paste of just about what the coastal whatever that other project is, Coastal Square. So if you look at the format, it's almost completely identical. It's almost word for word of what he did for that rezoning to this one, with some and this is the part that I need to share with you then. So he's assuming that in the part where they're talking about water, that he's just assuming that the town of Anacog is going to give him the water. And it's just one statement. That's it. And he does talk about sewer, and he's got some kind of a very poor, this whole presentation was done so poorly that I can't believe that anybody would take it seriously in the first place. And I kind of got that impression from the Planning Commission people who were listening to it. But that's just my observation. So that's some arrogance for him to assume that he's just going to get the water. So one of the commissioners queried him about it and said, well, on Hancock Town Council, we just had the same presentation, and he gave it another poor presentation for that. And he talked about the need for having the water. So the result of that was one of the planning commission saying, why was the town, Fletcher in particular, I guess, I don't know who else would do it, why have they deferred the decision to allow the water to to Duncan Manor when why is the town deferring to us? He said, well, we defer too, because that makes no sense. And the chairwoman, then also said an interesting thing. She said, she was under the impression that if the town, if it's privately owned water system, which is what it is here, is not allowed to just connect water outside their boundaries, and that was her impression. So she kind of raised her eyelids a little bit over that, saying that after seeing this. So they had a quick discussion about, well, it's already a done deal with at Coastal Square and the hospital too. I guess the hospital has got connected with the water.
Yeah.
So they just kind of, well, we defer because, this is supposed to be on Hancock's decision, not theirs. So the other project, the one from Greenbackville, one of the owners, or one of the project owners, then he claimed that he was at one time he was the president of the water system that is installed up there at one time. It's since been bought out by a publicly traded company, Aqua something or other. And so he said, that's a different story when they were talking about the water. He said, it's a different story you have from being privately owned to being a public company that he said they can give water to anybody that they want and there's no particular issues. So that was, that conversation kind of just died on the vine there after that, because they didn't know why the town was deferring and they were going to defer. So in effect, that's what they told this guy at that. No, Greenbackville was a different story because they're publicly owned and they can get water, and that wasn't an issue. It just happened to be the guy stood up and explained the difference between why it's different. He just said, well, they can run the pipes any old place if there's no, distance obstructions or anything else like that. Said that they can do whatever they want, like HRSD, does with the water. They can hook up anybody they want. But he said it was a different story with private. So I'm throwing that out as an interesting observation. So whether that, and I would think that that's got to be involved in the decision for this too.
Yeah.
So they went on, and I'll keep going. I was focused on the storm water for this. I figure the water is going to be something that's going to be hashed out. What's totally ignored is the storm water. Where is the storm water going to go for this particular project? Now, for Coastal Square, I'll give him credit. They did a really nice diagram as to where exactly their stormwater runoff is going to go. And they got all little blue lines in there. I mean, you can get a copy of this. This is on that docu system that has, I mean, that's actually it's very useful. They, I got it upside down. So if you look at the Coastal Square thing, they have like it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They got 5 retention ponds. They call them BMPs, which is just the best management practice, which makes no sense with water. But I could see from the diagram here that they're actually not. They're going to dump. They plan on not having any, their water go anyplace else other than this retention pond. So since the format of their rezoning is exactly the same as Duncan Manor, I looked up to see what's the difference between, if there's any difference between the two, and there is. So in the list of appendices in the back of their packet, where Coastal Square had specific drainage plans as to where the stormwater is going to go, these guys have modified it a little bit. So Coastal Square would say the existing site has been divided into however many drainage areas, and the water is going to go there. And that's it. That's the, and then see Appendix Q at the end. Duncan Manor says this, and I highlighted it here. It said the existing site has been divided into 3 existing drainage area. Drainage area boundary 1 outfalls to Anancock Creek from a proposed stormwater management BMP. And he says, same thing for drainage barrier 2, going to Anancock Creek, drainage barrier 3. And if you look at his picture, he's got 3 ponds listed on there. But the difference is that he says that somehow they're going to be attached to Anancock Creek. And when they said that, then the chair lady once again said, you know, I don't know if you're going to be allowed to do that. So then I said, well, maybe they have a nice diagram that that shows exactly what they have in mind here, since Anancock Creek now is in the plan somehow. And at the back of the packet, where they would have had the appendix, the concept, I think it's Exhibit 14. This is what I saw: 17 pages of blank. So when it's totally missing. So now he's making a presentation for his project, and he's got, for the stormwater part, he's got 17 pages missing. So when I asked him about this guy, the Lee Pembit, said that he took it out. Now, why isn't an employee of the Accomack County adjusting the plans of a developer where he took it upon himself to get rid of this? Because it's probably, my question is, how come you're going into Anancock Creek and maybe, I don't know, I'm reading this into this, he's not going to be allowed to do that. And he's very close, right next to our beloved stormwater system that goes right down Market Street. And that, once I saw the picture of where he's located, then that's been on my mind all this time. So that, I think, is ridiculous. How they can even, and he was pushing for a public hearing for being approval next month. And I don't think they came to any conclusion then, but you know, it's something that we need to keep a close eye on. Is that how can you be, you know, I mean, how can you do that and not even show where the storm system water is going to go in your project, along with all the other things? So anyway, I left the meeting and I talked to the chairwoman, a very nice lady, Angela Wingfield. And we must have stood outside in the dark after the meeting was over for half an hour talking about this project and other things in particular. And I have a lot of things that we said privately. Anybody's here is interesting, we'll go offline. I think you will, anyone here, especially you, Casey, would be very interested to hear what we had to say afterwards. So that's that. Now, the last thing is, because of the dithering there, that's my favorite word to talk about the town council. Since we've been dithering about this is totally has nothing to do with, although it's related to, but it's not actually anything having to do with Duncan Manor. other than the fact that we don't really know what our water system, what condition that it's in. So since I didn't see any action. In fact, I haven't seen any action. Poor Rosemary Papero, as much for the last year, I think, has been asking, every other meeting, can't we get somebody in here to assess and
That's
try to find out where
That's being
where
done.
the water pipes go, since we all know that as soon as the pipe breaks, nobody knows where the shutout off is, so on and so on. And that goes nowhere. So I wrote a letter to the town council, and I sent it to Debbie, which got rejected, but it got passed along anyway. And I am asking for action for the town council. And this is what I said. Said, I'm requesting that the agenda of the next town meeting on May 18th be amended to include the following 2 items and be added to new business. 1, the town council shall propose a motion to hire a qualified independent hydrologist to conduct a thorough assessment of the current condition of the town's water supply. 2, the town council shall propose a motion to hire a qualified expert to ascertain the current condition of Anacoc's freshwater infrastructure, map out the underground piping system, and provide documentation for your future reference. And I explained why I'm asking this, but I'm not going to say that. And here's what I got back from Fletcher.
Yeah.
It said, the town in its proposed budget has allocated $20,000 from capital reserve for a water study. It is my understanding that this would include a hydrological study of our groundwater, as well as an assessment of our water infrastructure. Because of this, I won't be adding this as an agenda item on the next May meeting. So what he's saying is that we have money. I don't know how long it's been in there, but we have $20,000 to do this very thing. But he's just not going to make a motion to actually have the town council approve somebody come in and do the work. So
That has been approved.
Actually, it's part of the
Yeah.
upcoming budget, Jay, and we'll have public hearings. We haven't quite gotten there, but it will be in next year's budget starting July 1st.
okay,
Once we go through the budget approval process.
That's right. And
It's in there.
yeah, and the town manager has requested to have a study done in the next few months. I mean, they've already put in the request to get it done. So what you're asking for, I don't know if you missed a meeting or two, but they're actually.
well, it may be the meetings, and since
Yeah.
there's no minutes for me to look back on,
Yeah.
unless I,
Budget, I don't
It's-
think everybody got
budgets.
public copies of the budget, so that's regrettable.
well,
That's true.
well, I'm
Final
happy.
copy?
I'm happy to see that.
Yeah.
I just didn't like this email that I
Yeah.
got back. That's all. So that's the story with
Well,
Duncan
thank
Manor.
you. Thank you.
And like I said, there's a whole lot more to talk about if you want to.
Thank you. So that was helpful. I meant to go to that meeting and I was unable to go. And let's see, hang on a sec. Bear with me 1 second. So what would happen is we are supposed to consider the potential to this water extension application, which would then have to go through public hearing for us, then goes to town council, then goes through public hearing for them. But I'm going to go ahead. Is that right? Yeah.
The recommendation from Bill was that we
Yeah.
essentially draft a policy.
Right. No, that's where I was going, Cindy.
So I think
Yeah.
that would
Right.
possibly take place before any of this.
Right. So
That's-
anyway, those would be, let me finish, guys. That would be, the process. But before that, the planning commission has a lot of work to do on figuring out what's going on with the municipal water system. And that is going to be, if it comes right down to it, is going to be the largest part probably and the heart of the revised comprehensive plan. because it's clear that there are a lot of really troublesome issues. So one of our problems has been that we don't have a lot of data. And so this water study is going to, and Greg's going to make a statement about the work he's doing in a little bit, but this water study will help us get data. We also are doing a lot of other research. So we're in more than any other part of the comprehensive plan. This is requiring a really lot of research. And there is no way that we're going to approve an application for extension of the water at this point. You know, that this is something that, my argument, and I think it's the argument that everybody will agree with, is that we have to get our ducks in a row in terms of the comprehensive plan and establish what our objectives are and what the challenges are associated with water management in the community. And, you know, so Greg's going to talk about that more in a minute, but at this point, you don't have to worry about us taking action on this because we just don't have enough data.
Logical, you know, I mean, but the impression I got is that they just want to do the bums rush and get it in there. You know, what they see is they see a town who's got an interim town manager. The old guy is gone. They've got a new, you know, relatively new planning commission that they're not quite ready yet to plan. So let's see if we can bully everybody and.
Well, that may be the case, but what we have to do is we're just making a big point, and I hope you will give us the benefit of your doubt because we're working really hard to do this correctly.
Well, I
So-
have a question, Casey.
Yeah, go ahead. Hold on, Jay.
Is this in the form of an application that we have to respond to within a certain period of time, or is it not?
Well, that's not exactly clear, and I was going to kind of address.
Yeah, that is
I was
not-
gonna address
Debbie's saying yes.
it. Well,
Maybe there is a formal application.
yes, there is. And I think when they made it, the presentation, they said, yeah, I don't know that there was a timeline of stat. They said, yes, we want an answer. You know, we can't wait forever. We have our own timeline.
Right.
But I don't know that anyone said that they're owed by code, you know, an answer.
I think there is a
There
specific.
probably
If
is.
it
We
is an
should probably finish.
application and it
Yeah.
meets that definition, then we have.
Oh, it is a
30
formal
days
application.
To respond.
It's
Or
what he made.
else it's approved.
He made.
Correct.
Council. It's the application he made. to the
If
council.
we don't act to do something, it
Well-
will automatically be
Because-
approved.
Because last time it happened, Matt said that even though it wasn't complete, it was still an application,
Correct.
or at least
Well,
that's my interpretation.
We can, given that, we can actually decline it now. I mean, if you think that's the way to go.
No,
Sure.
no.
Are we legally obligated to extend water to plan developments outside of the
No.
town limits?
We're not required to do that.
Casey, maybe to kind of keep things on track, why don't we address specifically what Bill Porter asked us to address?
Yeah.
I think we're getting a little far afield when we talk about the larger project, you know, which really isn't our purview tonight or what we're being asked to address.
Just trying to.
Yeah.
figure out, you know, really basic.
No,
parameters.
no, the answer to your first question is no.
Yeah,
Yes,
yes.
we're not obligated to do. It's our water, we can do what we want with it.
Yeah, that's exactly
It's as where that is.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to go ahead,
Yeah.
but my question is, if there is a timeline and a deadline, do you know what it is? Because I'm finding all of this, it's really hard to figure it out. Do you have any idea?
Well, we can.
I believe it's
Sure.
60 or 60
60
to
days?
60 or 90 days.
Okay, all right.
From their presentation or the date, yeah.
They applied or?
I think it's probably the date they apply.
It would be the date they applied, although
All right.
That's good to know.
Okay,
All right, so we have to deal with it.
okay.
So I have a quick question too, is,
Go ahead. Jeff, are you going to say something?
is there some form or something that they filled out for this? Because the only thing I see on the website is a residential connection form.
No, they made a presentation to the town council with the application. If you go back to the last agenda packet, it's in
Okay.
there.
Right, okay. So that's all they did was just make a presentation asking
Right.
for this. Okay.
Right.
It
Right.
includes a formal application.
That's what I'm
Well, their
asking for.
present-
It's not in our agenda packet, the formal application. That's what I'm trying to understand. Does the town have a document that they fill out, an application? And is there
I
information on there
think
about
there
timelines
was
and
last
things
time
like
when they
that?
did Coastal Square.
If you go back to the minutes for the last town council meeting and the agenda packet for
Okay.
the last town council meeting, you'll find it there.
Got it.
No,
Thank you.
No.
okay, let me clarify that,
Hey,
Jeff.
her clarify
Yes.
that.
Yeah, the same thing that was in your packet was the same thing that was in council's
Yes.
packet.
That's what they submitted.
Do we have?
We had an agenda and a packet.
That I
I see the
emailed.
agenda, I see a packet.
Well, it's a PDF that
It's a
has,
PDF that's,
so
Scroll. Thank you.
I don't think that, I believe that there was a formal application, not just an email request when the Coastal Square situation came
yeah,
to
what,
fruition, but I will double check that with Bill.
well, we also want to, make sure that this is, I guess what I would say at this point, since there seems to be confusion among us, is could Bill email me and tell me, is this a formal,
Okay.
does this actually constitute a formal application? So that there's a timeline, right?
And if we are running up against the limit,
Yes.
then we have to advertise another meeting, which is 2 weeks out, which I don't know what the deadline is, but the deadlines are usually pretty short for this. So I would be inclined to listen to what Greg has to say, but maybe act to defer tonight,
Act to what?
defer on it tonight.
Okay,
Well, I don't know. if-
Don't we make the recommendation to the town council?
Yep.
yep.
Yes, exactly. That's all we're doing.
They deferred to us.
Yeah, that's the problem, is it's like a hot, excuse me,
Well,
it's a hot potato is what it is.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm happy that I am content that we would make a decision on it tonight
Yeah,
so that we can be within any deadline, so it's not, by right added.
right.
Well, okay, so, look, thank you. I'm looking at seeing it there. I don't know why anyone wouldn't think this is a formal application. From
What's
what's
the
up,
date of it?
that's what I'm just kind of searching for here. So we have
The original email was February the 17th.
you actually, yeah, or February 18th, 17th.
But he was
That's-
not available to come to the March meeting as to why he did his presentation in April.
I could start the 17th, yes?
Of, well, February, if you like that bit. So
We're
if that's true, we're long past.
beyond already.
Now, but
But I'm
the
trying,
memorandum to the council from Bill Porter is dated April 27th.
right.
Okay,
So, asking, he's saying, okay, here's Carvaz and their plans on behalf of all that. So, and it includes all their stuff. I mean, this looks like a formal application to me, it's a matter of the
the
date.
question is the
Yeah.
date when the clock started, but let's go ahead and Greg has a presentation that he wants to do where he talks about the work that he's doing on water, just so you get a sense about what's going on.
And actually, it's more,
I thought you were gonna talk to us about Bill's
I
recommendation.
am, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's about the
Um,
municipal water
um,
system and,
And before I start, Jay, one other thing, before you jump to a lot of conclusions when a developer puts their plans out, particularly when it comes to transportation or stormwater, is that it all has to go through either VDOT or DEQ. And so what you need to look for is their approved plan. Because, they're the ones who decide, and as far as the town goes on any project, we've always deferred to them, when someone's developing us, how they develop their plan. So, look for a plan approved by DEQ. Yeah, because they can, put anything they want. All right, so what I want to address is what we were specifically asked to address. And this, I think we need to do this regardless of this application. I'll just go ahead and read this. at the most recent town council meeting on April 27th, the planning commission was asked to develop a recommendation on the requested water extension outside town limits and to develop a recommended policy for when town council should permit the extension of the water system outside of the town boundaries. I then met with the town manager, and I wanted to clarify exactly what the scope of that they were asking the planning commission to do. And the first thing we both agreed on is that the responsible and sustainably managing our only source of fresh water that we have here on the shore is the most important thing to consider as we plan for the future growth in this town and in the surrounding county. Because we in Anancock have been permitted by the DEQ to withdraw 10,600 gallons of water, groundwater per month, or 120 million gallons of groundwater annually from the aquifer. We have control over a substantial amount of fresh water in excess of what we currently use. I believe that what we've been asked to do, which is to recommend, not just whether or how the town should appropriate its excess water or how or when we should expand the system. But I think we need to look larger, and it goes back to a concept that we've been talking about for a while, which is called One Water. Look, whether it's rainwater, where am I here? Whether it's rainwater, stormwater runoff, wastewater, water in the aquifers, or water in the creeks of the bays, it's all part of the same cycle, and they should be viewed as one and the same. Any recommendations that we make should begin with this integrated and regional approach to water and how water in all its forms plays a role in sustaining and recharging the aquifers that we all rely on. I look at us as the stewards of a very fragile and valuable resource. So, the agenda item for this evening, we were asked to make a recommendation to the council on the request to provide water and extend the system to Duncan Manor. As we talked on earlier, it's really kind of a repeat for us when we were asked to rezone the Eller property. The first thing that struck us was we have zoning codes and a comprehensive plan that does not match the plan that we're being asked to consider. And so I look at it the same way now. What we need to do is sit back and write a water policy before we can decide how we wish to allocate this resource. Just like the Eller property, we didn't turn down their recommendation, their plan so much as it was, we're not in a position to make an informed decision on whether it's a good idea to rezone. And we're not in the position now to make a decision on whether it's on how we want to sell our water or use it as a resource. So that's kind of, I had this written out. I thought they were going to be here actually, but they're not. So I don't review any of us, our colleagues, as either anti-development or anti-growth. Our first responsibility is to the citizens and to the town council. How is it that we want to manage the future of growth and development in the town and the surrounding county, and how best to be responsible and careful stewards of our water? I went on to say, although this has been somewhat circumvented by our timeline, maybe, that, we were just tasked with this. And I can't tell you exactly how soon we'll have a recommendation, but I'm not sure that that's exactly true now. I think we need to find out exactly what the timeline is.
I think then we say that, given the fact that we have no policy and we need to develop one, that we
Correct. So I think
cannot approve the application at this time.
We actually can do that today.
All right, so we would recommend we're making a recommendation to the council.
Yes.
And so for their meeting on the 18th, we can make a recommendation that we're not ready to approve this application.
Right.
And we could do that
So we
tonight.
Reject not that we're not ready, we reject the application.
No, it's a
because we-
reject.
We do.
Well,
not-
yeah, I mean, yeah,
Because we
yeah,
can't kick it down the road.
that's true.
We gotta get.
Yeah.
So, all right,
Because we. do
So I have
not-
another question if I can.
sure.
So the other project, the Coastal Square one, I know that was brought to the town council at some point asking about extending water there. And I thought the town council voted to approve extending water to that project. Am I mistaken on that?
No, that's correct.
And so
You are
what was the
correct.
process for that approval?
There was almost no process. I'll
Well-
just be blunt. It was handled largely by the town. It's true.
I don't agree.
I don't
Well,
think that, I don't want to say that there was no process. I mean, it did go before the planning commission.
Matt was here at that time and he was managing that process. So I'm sure that there were elements of it that I've forgotten because we had a manager that was taking care of it at that point and advising us.
well, one of the debates though was that he provided a letter to in support of providing water and actually promised water
Yes.
to the Coastal Square development before town council had approved approved it.
Yes.
So we had a kind of a potential legal mess there because he had gone ahead, and we can find that letter, is that he had gone ahead and done a memorandum of understanding to provide that water before any unit of the town administration had had a chance to act on it. So it was, they got their water, but I would say it wasn't much of a process because it had
Was
been.
there an official letter? Because my understanding, and if I remember correctly, at one council meeting, Fletcher said that there would be no final decision unless it was if it's approved, it will, it was.
My
I don't
understanding.
think his memo was binding.
It was.
Okay, maybe that's the word I'm looking
Like,
for, binding,
He
right?
was saying that he thought that the town would approve it, but you remember that was the first one we received.
Yeah.
And so we were all saying, well, as always, there's the pros and cons of the town getting revenue from this project in the terms of the water meters and all of that stuff. It's substantial revenue
Yes.
if it ever occurs.
Yes.
So that was kind of the thinking at the time was potential revenue coming out of this. And it was the first one. We didn't know all these were coming.
Correct.
Yeah, do you remember, was there much discussion about these other issues, the health of the aquifer? Do we
No.
really want?
No,
No.
no, no.
Okay,
I
wait.
followed
It
it.
was much more of an administrative decision. We have the excess water.
Yes.
We can make money.
Right. DEP
Selling it.
said, we have this much water. Yes.
We've been granted the allotment, so.
And Paul, you were on the council then, right? What happened?
Cynthia and I both were.
There were several presentations. One was from, I believe, a hydrologist with the DEQ.
Yes.
There were several things that were asked and several things were presented,
And-
not town manager requests.
No,
I mean,
Well,
recommendation.
Further solidified my thought. We really can kind of break this up tonight. We can recommend to the council to reject this
You want to
and go forward with writing a policy.
I was gonna say last time, I don't know that there was much of a discussion about the cost benefit. We would get money from the water, we would get money from the meters, but we also have more lines to maintain. And so to get the water to them. And I don't remember any discussion.
Weren't we only maintaining to the town limits or not?
Right, but
That would still be more.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so there was no discussion about, would the additional benefit exceed the potential cost if we have to dig them up and redo the lines in town? And so it's just one of those things that I don't know that we looked at all the possible costs
Yeah,
is all.
Yeah, well, and my understanding was that then, when there was a discussion about no, because a lot of people, including me, stood up and said, wait a minute, on this, was that there was concern that he would sue. I remember that. Yeah, that he would, that if this turned out to, if we took it back, basically, that he would
Because of the-
sue us. Yeah, because of the MOU.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
theoretically it wasn't binding, but it was one of those things that if we said we changed our mind, that there was no doubt that he would sue us. So,
Yeah.
Well, and that's my concern here too, is if we went through this process in quotes last time and said he could, said that water was approved for Coastal Square, and now we're saying, hey, wait a minute, we don't want to do this. We need to back up and make a policy. I mean, we have every right to do that, but is that going to also turn into a potential legal mess? It's, hey, you let me do it before. Now,
I think
why is it
Coastal
different?
Square is a done deal.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see, I mean, that was voted on by town council and that's.
No, I
in-
understand
so
that exactly, and that's what I'm
right,
saying
but
is
the other
we
one,
went through
I
that
don't-
process, even if it was a lack of a process. And so now it's okay. Why are you changing the rules? Which we may have a right to do that. I'm just bringing it up that it may turn into a mess as well and
Jeff,
potential legal
remember,
issues.
We're making a recommendation to town council. We're not making
Absolutely.
a decision.
No, absolutely, I understand that. I
It's on
understand that.
their heads to decide, and their lawyer, that we have a lawyer that will
Yeah.
advise us.
Yeah, I would also add that what we're now considering, which is a larger water policy, far outweighs whatever someone might decide to do litigation wise.
yeah,
Okay, if they do, they do. I don't see that what you did for Coastal Square established a rule,
right, it
I
did not.
agree with that.
It did not, it was one off.
Right.
It is right. That was a development and this is a separate application to be considered on.
And it's outside of town.
And it's outside of town.
Yeah,
So,
And I wasn't saying that it developed a rule. I was just saying it went through a process. And so now we're saying, no, we don't want to use that process anymore. We want to do something different. And so that's all I was bringing up. Not that it established a rule that we should do it.
Jeff, I don't see it as a different process. I mean, we're following the same process we always should with any application.
Yeah.
The process remains the same. I think the discussions and the issues brought up are different.
I agree. I don't know the details of the I mean, I was at a couple of those meetings, and then yes, they looked at the health of the water system and so forth and so on. And so we talked about rejecting this application because we want to go back and develop a policy or whatever. And so we need to be able to defend why we don't want to use the process that we already used for the last project. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. Perhaps if kind of.
okay, do you want to
Perhaps, yes,
respond to
perhaps.
that?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, let Paul respond to that.
No, it's okay.
Okay,
When did we sell water or bring the hospital online? Do we know? That was a long time ago. That was before this.
I'm sure that
Was it?
agreement predated them building it.
That's what I'm thinking.
that was one of the
was
reasons
part
that they
of-
came.
Of building it was they were like a guaranteed user.
Yeah.
Yes.
The guarantee.
They want a guaranteed user.
I don't think I was on town council.
Yeah, that was how long ago it was. Okay, so that's a whole separate. Yeah.
And I consider the Coastal Square to be a done decision, not a policy.
Yeah,
So-
it is, it's a decision, not a
That's right.
policy.
And I
It
have,
is.
and I have no problem I understand what Jeff is saying, but I don't think that, that because we acted one way in the absence of a new policy or the development of a policy, that we are stuck with repeating the same process. So I respectfully disagree with Jeff.
Okay,
Oh, can I ask you a question? Was it the previous planning commission that made any recommendations we heard on Coastal Square? Because I don't think we've talked about it.
No,
That
it was
Coastal
well
Square.
before this, it was well before, it was in December of,
I
It
don't
was not
remember.
us, no.
I don't remember their recommendation.
I remember Matt's recommendation,
Right, but I don't remember
And-
the planning commissions. Do
Me
you?
either, but it may have been there was no planning commission
Yeah.
because
No,
they
that-
resigned in mass.
No, that was after
Was
this.
that after?
Yeah, that was after this.
Planning.
It was a planning commission, but it was a very different planning commission, so.
Maybe they didn't take it up.
I'm pretty sure they did.
I'm sure.
Did they?
must have.
I would think they did, or that would usually be their usual process, but.
So we got a motion for Debbie? You ready, Debbie? Who's gonna give it?
I move that the planning commission recommend to the town council that we reject the current application for access to our water or extension of our water service for the Duncan Manor project.
And do we want to add to that, that
Until such time as we can develop an
Yeah.
out-of-town water policy.
That-
We want to throw that in our rejection? I don't know.
well, we can revisit the topic once
Okay.
we have.
All right, I'll throw that in until such time as we are able to develop our own municipal water policy
Out of town.
for use out of town.
Mhm.
For extending water service out of the town boundaries.
Okay, so let's see
I'll
what
second
Debbie's
it.
got here. Let's see what Debbie's got here first.
Yeah.
And
I
then we'll
have
second
planning
it.
commission recommends rejecting access or extension of the Duncan Manor application until, I just have until you develop an out-of-town water policy. Not until, but
No, go back.
Say something about extension of,
We can, one, we can
Let me-
consider it, just because we have a policy doesn't mean we accept it. So we need to say that it can be represented once we have a policy.
Well, if it's rejected, then it has to be represented.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
So,
would that be in a motion or would that be on a letter
see,
explaining?
yeah, I don't want to put that in the motion. That's, yeah, whether, all right, so
explain.
I move that the planning commission recommended to the town council that the proposed application for extension of town water and the town municipal water system outside of the town boundaries to cover the Duncan Manor project be rejected until such time as we are able to develop a comprehensive municipal water policy for outside the town limits.
We don't need for outside the town limits. We only need comprehensive water policy.
Okay, got it.
That you can see.
the
on the
until
picture.
such time as it
That's-
implies an extension.
Okay,
How about
I don't
if
want
we
to
don't
apply
have
that.
one
I don't want to apply, Fred. I don't want to apply an extension. That's what I was,
until
I
such
didn't wanna talk
time,
about
makes
that
it
at
sound like we'll revisit it.
yeah,
We can't-
that's what I kind of wanted to avoid. I mean, if we're rejecting it, they can always bring it back.
Yeah, it's true.
So what's that motion say now?
They're all confused.
That's right, well, no, I want to get it right, right?
No.
Get it right.
well, you guys get it right and
Exactly.
I'll pick it up on the video.
I'm gonna start writing it down.
Sometimes it's good when there's hardly anyone here.
Oh, okay, hang on a second, Greg. So the planning commission
Recommend to the town council
recommends to town council that the
application
application
To provide
to provide water, town water,
municipal water,
to provide municipal
water
water
to
outside of the,
no, the application is to provide municipal water and extended service to the Duncan Manor project.
which is outside of the town limit.
Yes,
So,
but the application is for Duncan Manor. That's what we're rejecting.
To provide municipal water to Duncan Manor,
development project.
Yes.
to the Duncan Manor development project.
We can say outside the town limits.
You could say,
Just
that.
say outside the town
Yeah,
limits.
you could say that. Got all that, staff?
Do we, hang on.
Should we say in light of the town council's request that the planning commission develop an out-of-town water policy?
Hang on a second, just before we go
Hang
any
on.
further, what I have is from Greg. The planning commission recommends to town council that the application to provide municipal water to the Duncan Manor Development Project, which is outside of the town limits, be rejected.
Correct.
Mhm.
We didn't say what we wanted them to do. Be rejected. Period.
Period,
Period.
period.
That's kind of,
don't-
I think we should.
We don't want to
right there.
explain that it's because they ask us to develop a policy? Or no?
That's where I'm going with this next.
Okay, wait.
Here's part one. Right?
Mhm.
Then are we legally obligated to give a rationale for rejecting?
No,
No,
Deborah, do you
No.
know?
no,
No.
we don't have to.
no,
Well, then,
Okay,
Then
less said, the better.
that's right.
that's,
Less
there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So, well, that's, and. I don't know if you can read it, Deborah, but I wrote it down.
That's all right, I got it.
Jeff, you look like Jeff's got a comment.
Well, I think we're tying these two together. And if you look at what Bill Porter said, is they're two separate things. One is to develop a recommendation on the requested water extension. And then two, to develop a recommended policy for when the town council should permit extension of water outside town boundaries.
Right.
So they're two separate things that they're asking us to do. So, and it sounds like we're doing that. I don't necessarily, I understand we can just flat out reject it. I don't necessarily agree with that you just say, hey, we reject you and that's it. I don't think it's a nice way to deal with, it doesn't matter if you like a developer or whoever, but I don't think it's necessarily a nice way to deal with it, but I understand that we can. So that's just my thoughts.
What would you like to recommend instead for that?
Well, I don't know at this point. That's the problem is, that's why I brought up the previous one. What was the process? We don't seem to have a process, but to me is saying, okay, we're not going to do anything. We're going to reject you because we don't have our own process. It really sounds like we don't know, we don't have our ducks in a row when we should. And yes, granted we don't, and that's the reality of it, but that doesn't mean that we still shouldn't take what someone's asked us to do and do something with it and not just say we're going to reject it because we don't have a process in place.
I
So-
think the only reason we went to a motion tonight was when it came up to the idea of a potential deadline and that we would be caught with an application, and because we didn't act appropriately, got, automatically approved. That's why we're doing the motion.
Okay.
That's what spurred us to make that motion. We're uncertain about whether we're under a deadline or not. I think we are, but I don't know what it is.
Well, that would probably be the first thing that would be good to know.
And perhaps, well, the problem is we aren't.
Develop the policy overnight.
No, but he's right. What is two things. We're being asked to say, should, the town approve this application or not? We're recommendation, and that's one thing, and that's actually what we were voting on. The other is the policy. Then we'll continue with that. But the reason we're having, I hear what you're saying, but the reason we brought it up is because suddenly somebody said we might be under a deadline. That's why we're having a vote right now. Whether,
Why don't you find out?
I come back to the question of, okay, if we're going to develop a policy, what's going to be in there? You know what I mean?
Could you repeat, Jeff?
So
Jeff-
my
Jeff got the
question
floor.
is if in order to provide a recommendation, okay, what do we need to provide that recommendation? Not just reject this. What are the things that we need? Do we need to wait for this review of the water system? okay, then that's great.
think
Then
at
I think
minimum.
we should explain that in some way to say, hey, we're rejecting this because we don't have enough information to make a decision, make a recommendation. You know what I mean? I don't think it should be that we're rejecting it because we don't have a policy for this.
Okay, so we could add a clause at the beginning that said in light of, let's see, hang on, Paul's working on this.
Maybe not, but what I was.
I'm not saying we have to do this. I just feel like the town should still move things forward even when we don't have the processes and policies in place that we want in place. You know what I mean? We still have to move forward and conduct business.
Right, so we still have 60 days to act on this application,
Maybe.
Yeah.
right?
Maybe, because the first email was, when was it actually received?
So
When was the application
February.
received?
So would this satisfy you? The first part stands with rejected. The developer may resubmit the request for consideration once the town council approves a comprehensive town water policy that includes requirements for the extension of water service beyond the town limits.
I'm not real.
I think you're just saying the same thing that we
I'm
just
not
talked
either,
about.
but
It doesn't,
just-
Yeah.
it doesn't really change
Find
it.
that insulting,
Who
Right.
will find that
I'm sorry,
insulting?
Jeff?
the developer. The owner.
And how long is it going to take to create a town water policy for extending outside the town boundaries? Is that a month? Is that 6 months? Is that 2 years?
I'd say most policies take 2-3 months easy.
Yes, 2, 3 months. I'm thinking 2, 3 months, so yes.
So then,
Okay.
But it's an important policy. That's way
Absolutely.
beyond development.
Absolutely. I agree 100% on that. I'm not
So
disputing that.
So we can't be rushed by, someone else's development plans.
And
Yeah.
on the application, that's supposed to contain all the information that we would need to make a decision. It's not as if we're going to get more information about the development. I guess we could ask him questions if we can think of any, but I'm thinking, are there any circumstances in which we would actually approve or recommend approval tonight?
I would just.
Well, I could definitely not approve it tonight, but I'm just saying, I feel like if we reject it, and we may have to do that because of the time constraints, and I understand that. But I think we don't have enough information to make a recommendation at this point, and so that to me should be part of this, to say we just don't have the information. And yes, maybe we have to have additional questions, not only of the developer, but of outside people, like we talked about. What's the health of the water system and things like that may go into this decision.
Well, that's where, in a way, Paul's thing sort of deals with that, because it says, we're putting together a policy, right?
Right, but
Can we leave out the resubmit part?
Yeah.
we can do anything. I'm perfectly content to be much more abrupt than Jeff. Because,
I am too,
I'm just
actually.
happy to be abrupt because we're just not ready and we don't have a policy. And, I have personal feelings, but I don't really care about my personal feelings in this. What I want to say is, I move that the planning commission recommend to town council that the application to provide municipal water to the Duncan Manor Development Project, which is outside of the town limits, be rejected. That's my
I
message.
think it's fine. I mean, you can always, if you feel like you need to soften it, you soften it in the letter, right? And say, we're doing a comprehensive plan and we're developing a new municipal water policy.
Madam Chairman,
But-
you asked for a second.
I'll second it.
Yep.
Now we have discussion.
Okay, any further discussion?
You want to soften it, and you were saying,
No,
We can
no,
soften it.
I mean, you can we can, in the letter, I agree. I think it's better to just be, we're not going to do this. Now, town council can,
do
Do whatever
they can do whatever they want to, God help us. But, hopefully they're not going to decide that they want to, do this before the planning commission. I know you're waving these pages at me, Jay. So, yeah, before, there's a shortage of information, there's a shortage of, we're working on this municipal policy and we need to have an opportunity to do it. They just made the comprehensive plan more complicated.
Yes.
Yeah, they just did that, so that's the way it goes.
I don't know, were there proffers in that?
There
that?
were no proffers.
So there, I mean, there's,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm all on board with keeping things as brief as possible. And I think in this point, that's all we need to convey to the council.
Yeah.
Other things, all this other can be conveyed in other means. So I think this is
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
call the vote. Let me
Sure.
call the vote. I'd like to call the vote.
Do we do it by roll?
Yeah, let's roll. Let's do it by roll. Jeff, unfortunately, you can't vote. You can attend, but you can't vote. So,
Commissioner Holdren,
Aye.
Commissioner Temple,
I
Commissioner Weitzel,
Aye.
Chairperson Greer.
aye.
Motion passes.
And we have a quorum.
Yeah. Okay, so, so now what's gonna happen is that, did you have anything else you wanted to say about
Yeah,
water?
Look, yeah, the last part was, when I was at the town council and I looked at the packet and, with this little line item, putting this on the planning commission. And immediately it struck me that this is, way more than this couple of lines that it's asked it to do, because, it's really, developing a comprehensive policy about water, because it's a valuable resource. It's a finite resource. It has value as a commodity,
Mhm.
and we have excess water. How do we want to use it? So anyway, that was that. So what I've been doing, we needed to start to find out exactly where we are. So I got the application and the permit thing from DEQ, which is, full of information. And then Debbie has, given me the contact. So what we need to know is exactly how much we withdraw from all sources. And I'm thinking about some of the sources we don't necessarily track. For the municipal water, we probably don't have a meter for town buildings,
Do we have a meter, Debbie, for town
Probably
water?
not, I don't know, but stuff like that, but things,
Center, because we
Yeah.
had put it in.
Yeah,
yeah.
but is there one in this building, for example?
Yeah, but anyway,
Okay.
get a handle on, on as much as possible, exactly what our draw is. We know what our permit is, exactly how much do we use, some historical data, and then we know how much water we've got to, to play with, and then we decide. The other thing, and I'm looking at this as much as a public education campaign as anything, because there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions, a lot of expertise, and it affects them in this town. So, for example, this study of the USGS and the DEQ, which just came out, I think half this town has read the thing, right? So, that's the kind of, and it's an important study. So part of all this will be determining the state of the aquifers. And then, one of the things about this study is it's really about hydrology. It doesn't really address saltwater incursion or pollution. So we need to develop other information about those two things. And then, sit down and, write a policy, that's an integrated approach to all this. So, it's a task. It's like been thrown on top of the comprehensive plan, but there it is. So,
Greg,
yes.
do you suppose that there are other localities dealing with similar issues?
Oh, I'm sure there, I know they are. Yeah, absolutely. And part of this is, beginning to look at what we draw from our wells. Who are the other big draws? And also it's understanding the aquifers. Most, the water, a lot of the water that we draw and stuff is really from the surface, it doesn't really tap into the aquifers, or at least not into the middle aquifer. Our wells draw from the middle aquifer, of the Yorktown Eastover. But, so you begin to understand all that. you know, which is a public application or a public education. So, yeah, we've got our work cut out for us.
Can we get information from DEQ about what the water draw is around, not just in town, but around us? Because I see all those permits being, going to the county and people wanting to draw out 1 million gallons or whatever.
I was going to reach out because I was thinking it'd be nice to have someone from DEQ come explain that study since so many people are reading it. And I'm suspecting it would have to be off the record. But to me, what would be more important is getting a sense from them. All right, they've got this project. We say, we're not going to give you our water. They say, fine, we'll drill our own wells. What's the DEQ's position on that?
Right.
Right.
You know,
Big
maybe,
one.
maybe it's kind of an off the record thing, but still, because that's what, they'll say it's all the same aquifer. We can either get it from you or we can drill our own well, right? What's the DEQ's position on that? That's to me would be an important thing to know. But I am going to reach out and hopefully get someone in here to just, and they can kind of address all that at the same time, address this study and, just talk about municipal
Yeah,
water
talk about the aquifer.
and the aquifer in the state. So that's where we are.
Excellent.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Okay, time-wise, where are we? 7:15. We're okay.
15. All right.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about where we are on the progress on the comprehensive plan. I think we can all do, we know what Greg's doing, so let's get, I haven't looked at your thing yet, but let's get reports from everybody and we can talk about what we're doing and where we are.
I've come
And
up
I
with,
can also talk about the table of how the table of contents works, right?
I drafted the sections that I understood, but the table of contents that I was using is not this one that's on our thing tonight. So I didn't do anything on volunteerism, but I've written the section, or at least drafted it, about sustaining healthy, vibrant community for everyone.
Yeah, well, we had this one we had talked about in like March. And then because the first one you didn't care for because it wasn't detailed enough. So we came up with enough chapters. And then what'll happen is inside the chapters, you can divide up sections 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, right? So that can be put in the table of contents so people can go directly. It's on the SharePoint drive, Jeff. So what it does, but what I wanted to do is just say quickly, so I've got a rough draft of the introduction and there've been some comments on it. And one of the comments where we're trying to avoid doing lots and lots and lots of comments was something that I do need to address. So I'll go ahead and add or change things. But so what this does is, Jim McGowan will figure out what the sections are for zoning and future land use. Housing, I went ahead, Jeff, and this is what, when you take a look at it, you'll see it says housing is chapter 2 under zoning and future land use. There's a little background there were various building campaigns, including one in the 1940s up in the Northeast neighborhood. So I'll provide very brief background on that. But then it's description of current housing stock and current construction, description of approved development that is occurring beyond town limits, because I do think Coastal Square impacts what we will decide to do. And then there'll be land available within town limits for future housing. And I started working on a map for us to look at that has the open zoning areas that are available for housing that are undeveloped. But I'm about to do a friend of mine who is very retired and has time on his hands I will go ahead and do the map in the next week where we go along and pick out where the vacant lots are that are in existing neighborhoods. So we figure out what lots are kind of hanging out there for individual houses. And also, we will note clearly derelict houses. We'll note the ones that are clearly derelict. So I think something that has come up in your conversations, Jeff, has been that annexation in areas that will provide more housing is a path to more town revenue, right? And you have talked about that. And so I think we want to discuss that whether we want to encourage the town to take another crack at annexation. And then whatever the policy recommendations are for housing within Onancock boundaries. So that's, just see how I broke it out into sections. This is all changeable as we write it. We may want to change it. But what it does is it lets people, will be able to, it helps, it's like an outline, right? So any rate, so that's the one section that doesn't have any assignment that we'll have to talk about is there was a lot of discussion in the community forums about town government. And in all our conversations, it's really clear that we need to discuss town government mainly in terms of evolving policies and administration and procedures to recommendations for the development of clear procedures and policies in relating to some things. So that's just a more extensive one. And as you work and you find that it may not pertain, it can be changed, right?
Casey, as we've progressed through this, I've found the comments that I guess you'd compiled just in running order from the first session. And I know there were other sessions, and I don't think we ever got written materials telling us what those comments were.
All right, I will go back and get all those up on the shared drive.
Okay.
So we'll get all those up.
Remember the comments from those,
The workshops.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I still think beat the drum here. I think, for instance, in my sections, when somebody if this is a searchable document online, maybe they'll find it, but I'm not sure that I would intuit that some of the subsections go in the header. Some of them are pretty specific, like housing, zoning.
The header is just a section head. It's like a page that says, here's the next section of the plan. It's like a subtitle.
Right.
And then this, and you wanted to put volunteerism in here.
Did?
Yes. That's why it's there.
Oh,
That's why it's there.
If you
Because
don't,
you want to put it there.
if
I
you don't,
remember saying that we depended on our volunteers.
No, you said, you
if you don't want,
if
if you don't want to remember, I'll take responsibility for it. I suggested we should put it there.
Yeah,
Cynthia is exempt.
And you're writing it too, Paul.
No, but not yet.
I think it's a section that talks about, OBCA and
Yeah.
OMS and,
I'll help Cynthia because with econ development.
Help, you know.
Yeah, but, sort of.
Yeah. So, this just lays it out, but as you write it, you're going to find you want to rearrange this or do it differently. I'm just giving you something to hang your hat on.
And connect with other areas too.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah,
Just helps me to start writing,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
deal with the format as I go.
yeah.
I'll jump in and say
Yes.
that I had to do for those of you who know anything about IBM computers, I had to do a hard reboot just mentally. So that's why I just blew off the 2 meetings. I apologize. That I just started since econ development was empty last time. I thought we would be well served. There are 2 small jokes in this that we will take out in the real copy. It's just for you. There's an extra copy anyway, yeah.
Here's your copy.
Oh, thank you. It just sort of migrated. away.
And but I'm trying to lay out, I'm going to assume that we don't know what it is. And I'm trying to lay it out, and then I'm trying to lay out responsibilities. And so what will happen is, and we can agree and disagree with it, I'm not worried about that, but that then drives the rest of the sections. And so there are two, it's like, what is economic development, right? And the first joke is, I just went and got a definition. It happened to be a wiki definition, but it's easier than me starting to talk about institutional arrangements and resource allocation. So I thought, let's just give them something easy to understand so they know where we're coming from. And then the goals of economic development, and then the role of the town in economic development. And there's research behind all this. And I'm just, so that's in the second page, or the back of the first page. Because the entire time in my head, because I was thinking about money and funding for positions, and I could hear Cynthia say, we're not going to have a lot of money. We've got to be safe and careful with our funds. And so I just mentioned that in funding strategies, I include, if I'm going to be talking about economic development, I have an obligation then to talk about what possible funding strategies there could be to help us develop the money and develop funds that we can use to accomplish what we decide to do. And from that, and it still was on the funding issue, if you go to the very back of the last page, that I have an objective for year one, which is develop a funding stream for the economic development position and initiatives. I recommend a position, but we can talk about all that later. The goal, and this is a direct recommendation, is that I want to drive more traffic to town. So to do that, the flow through stops at Royal Farms for EV charge up. So there are ways we can either own it ourselves, or there are companies like ChargePoint and what have you, EVgo, who are national companies who have electric charging stations, and they will provide everything and just give us on our property, and just give us a little bit of fund from anybody charging at our, if you will, EV station, to help develop a revenue source for economic development. So it would accomplish two purposes: drive more people to town, right, for restaurants, what have you, and then also have a funding source. We can reject that out of hand. I don't care. That's not where I'm going with this. It's just, I think that's part of my obligation as I complete this section, is to sort of walk through the obligations of the town, right? And then provide possibilities to allow the town to meet those obligations. I also ask in this one that we get the town administration, town council, the mayor, the Economic Development Association, and OCBA or OBCA, whatever it is, exclusively to develop a vision of economic development for the town. Main Street's already well, I think, represented. FOS is well represented. And I think it would be good that even when we get this done, to have the town council and the relevant parties create a vision that then as we change this plan, we have guidance on what we should do, and the town has guidance of where they want to go. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think we should do that particularly. So you can tell me I've lost my mind, Cynthia doesn't.
Oh, no, I'm thinking probably the town council thinks that the EDA will do that.
I'm not.
Maybe.
That's why I'm explicitly asking for it. The town council, EDA. In this, I included the EDA, right? It's like, we need to do it. And that, because if we're going to do economic development, EDA has to be, right, and looking for funding. I mean, they have to be much more I'm thinking they should be more active than they currently are. Right? Because it shouldn't end up being you, town council, or me, or God knows town staff has enough to do already. And I'll stop there. So you can read this. I'll post it. I'll start logging in and checking my email. Feel free to tell me whatever you want. I have no emotional commitment to any of it, and I'm impossible to offend. So,
I had one other comment in looking at the, which I forgot until just now.
oops, I'm sorry.
Looking at the comments that we did get, for instance, I'll be interested in how everybody else feels about dealing with this. In just looking at that sweep of comments,
Mm-hmm.
some people would say that they really liked the walkability of town.
Yes.
There were several comments like that. And then there were others who would say, you know, we needed more sidewalks, and implying that there are, you know, are walkability problems. So it's how we balance those various comments and where we land. I'm not sure what that is or how to decide it.
And you know, that's why I'm sort of looking for a vision from the relevant parties for economic development, because walkability is a huge economic issue at this point, right? Because it's not just economic development is not just business acquisition, it's livability, it's distribution, it's, you know, parks are included in economic development, all of that, right? In the literature anyway. And so I'm really looking for guidance on that in a sense. And so I agree with you. How do we balance those? And I don't think that's our decision. I think we need more guidance from, you know, the parties involved. If that makes any sense.
I'm not sure I totally follow you, but I want to let you go ahead and then I'll follow you. Let me see. Yeah, I need to think a little more about this. But I also feel really strongly that, I mean, my sense is that EDA is about to blossom quite a bit.
Excellent.
Yeah, my sense is that Ann Quigley has a lot of energy and a lot of experience that relates to this kind of stuff. So that's really good. I mean, Main Street's got its mission, which is a specific area, but I think that EDA needs to look at all the way up the road, right? And
So when I
think about that.
when I post this, then I can rely on you to pass it up to EDA, because I don't have any problem with them making comments early.
well, Ann is going to come to the June meeting. Yeah.
Okay. because-
Ann's coming to the meeting and get a sense about, we can get a sense about what she's thinking about.
Because those are really the if you will, the actors that need to be involved in this, right? Along with us.
Mhm.
I kind of would like to have like a coherent sort of draft among this group before we start asking for comments from other people, because, you know, the writing styles are going to be different. It's going to be interesting to see how this all comes together.
I've been known to go out.
Good word.
It is, and that's, and
We'll
you're,
get there.
and you're absolutely right, Cynthia. I guess I'm just so used to being a little bit outside the box at times. And so I'm looking to make sure I accomplish the goals that we really want to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
And that's all I'm just doing as a personal check on myself. So, and then to enlist their support
Mhm.
Their comments.
and comments.
Mm-hmm. And there's other issues that come in that Jim has, Jim is going to be working on, land use and stuff like that, and that also impacts economic
Sure does.
development. Yeah, so, yeah,
Creeping businesses into residential areas is an issue in the literature, which is the B1, B2, right, for us kind of thing. And, there's lots to be done yet. But I think I'll be, respectively drafted by our next meeting, whenever that is.
okay. I think
2
it's what we
weeks
have to
plus.
do is we've got to create some drafts that then can be
And then-
discussed, like a reading group, right?
Exactly right.
And then we'll figure it out. And And, if everything is nice and cogent, but somewhat different from a style standpoint, there's no reason why we can't under each chapter say principal author. And that's what we'll do, is so that they know who the principal voice is. So there's ways to just set it into we'll just set it into the table of contents, who is the principal author. So we won't have to worry about,
Your voice.
the voice. It's just, like I said, if the sentence is longer than one breath, you need to cut it in two, is what you have to do.
Short declarative.
Short declarative sentences. So,
I'm doing lists.
yeah. Is there anything else to be added? Jeff, do you have anything you want to add at this point?
I don't right now, no.
Yeah, I know you're in a state. Let me let your cold pass, and I'll call you and we can get together and talk about the housing section and
Okay.
figure out how I want to handle that.
That'd
I
be
think we
great.
just, we'll just have to go ahead and, we'll write something up and then we'll get comment. So, and then figure out how to organize it. So, okay, let me give you a little time to do that. So,
And Jeff, get better soonest.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else anybody else want to add? Jay, I want to thank you for coming.
How would you classify, instead of rejecting the project, everybody deferring? Would deferring stop the clock?
No,
No.
no.
It will?
No.
Okay, that's too bad. And then I hate to bother Greg some more, but have we done any more thinking about the stormwater runoff in town?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and is that part of tonight?
Not tonight, but yes, we're thinking about it and developing. That's part of the whole comprehensive plan
Yeah.
Right, because
within town. Yes,
in my particular backyard.
yes. Oh, I know. I'm well aware of your backyard. Yes, yes.
It's the erosion is to the extent
Mhm.
that I'm worried that that drainage, a ditch that
Mhm.
goes from Car Street and anybody else on that block, that and through the back of my property and through the storm pipe that's under my driveway. It's a considerable amount of erosion, a lot worse than I just went back there yesterday to try to cut the rest. I think if I want to again anymore. Because it had so much has eroded,
Mm.
all that dirt. I don't know how my backyard slopes. I guess it does, but, so even though there's all vegetation there, that's not enough. So I'm worried that yours truly is gonna have to get my shovel out
Mm.
and start excavating, and I really don't think I'll do that stuff anymore.
That's what in 1885, the town council required every property owner in town to dig their own stormwater ditches. Get ready.
Yeah. We're addressing it, Jay.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
It's an issue.
Water is,
It's an issue.
yeah,
Yeah.
water is is turning it, it's going to be the biggest section of the plan. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's such a huge issue. Everybody's thinking about it. We didn't even mention, there's a whole issue of dredging the creek, which is a water issue. And that involves the Army Corps of Engineers. We don't have any ability to do anything about that. So, yeah. So, okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Debbie. I really